Hey, what's up, and welcome back to my channel. So I was chilling, looking through TikTok, looking at a whole bunch of like MBTI content because that's what I do, and I came across this meme on this page, and I'll just show it right here, right here. Yeah, so take a look at that. Anyway, um, I thought about it more, and honestly, yeah, that makes sense. I think as far as I was born, as far as I had, a recognition of myself being a person, quote unquote, it has led to nothing but existential crisis. And I've gone through my whole life, acquiring experiences much like anyone does as they get older and, go through their days, quote unquote. And I guess, this is the point where you're supposed to learn about yourself. Hell nah, I haven't learned anything about myself. I've just been lost this entire time. And, well, I already have my identity issues thanks to my narcissistic personality disorder. But anyway, I think even from a TI perspective, from an MBTI perspective right here, yes, the detachment is very much something that I relate to in terms of being a TI dominant. Because seeing this meme, like, it reminded me of a conversation I had with a friend a little bit before I saw the meme about how they don't really see other functions in me. Not that they don't think that it exists, because this is kind of funny, because me and this friend even had a conversation about the shadow, like in relation to the video that I made. Narcissist talks about Carl Jung's shadow is, I believe, what it's called. Go check that out. That might sound interesting. But anyway, yeah, I find I find it kind of interesting because the fact that he said that, and we had a little bit of a back and forth about whether or not the shadow truly is there, at least for somebody with a cluster B sort of like personality. I think if I just expanded upon that more in the conversation, he would have hypothetically have seen that, okay, maybe I in particular just do not have a shadow because there is no me to have a shadow behind, quote unquote, and all that. But I mean, anyway, I wanted to focus this more on, yes, the TI detachment, and I guess just, yeah, the notion of like having an existential crisis constantly as an INTP, because when I heard my friend tell me that, okay, they only witness my top two functions within me, TI and NE, it made a whole lot of sense because I've always gone through this life thinking that, like, okay, this shit is basically just a thought experiment and nothing's actually real. Like, I think the curse of being an INTP, in my, point of view, anyway, as I, talk about my type, I think a lot of it, okay, if you go watch my video, I hate being an INTP, I think, yeah, I'll pretty much like relay a lot of like the same points that, I've, said in that video, because what I spoke about in that video is that as an INTP, I naturally contradict myself all the time. Like, if I have a certain perspective, I can immediately think of like the opposite, and they all kind of just like cancel out, leaving me in this like nihilistic state. And that's why I'm saying that, like, okay, as an INTP, so focused on what you're thinking and the thoughts in your head, TINE, introverted thinking and extroverted intuition. Yes, this life is essentially just a thought experiment, because I've noticed that, like, as an INTP, the reason why nothing actually feels real is because, okay, I want to seal a conclusion. I think the curse of being an INTP is wanting to be close minded while having the capability of seeing so much ambiguity, and that's super fucking annoying. So, essentially, I think as an INTP, when you are a TI dominant, you realize that everything is just being held on top of assumption after assumption after assumption, and there's no truth to anything. And if there's no truth to anything, can you even, let's say, properly claim that there's no truth to anything? Like, I don't know, bro. It's like epistemological suicide, or in another way of saying it would just be, I guess, epistemological nihilism, essentially. I only know that I know nothing, I guess, quote unquote. And this is how I know I'm not an ENTP, I guess, because if you saw the video that I also made, it's called like criticisms to ENTPs from an INTP, I believe is what it's called. So if that also sounds interesting, go ahead and check that video. Somebody left a comment on that video telling me that essentially the whole, oh, I only know that I know nothing thing is not supposed to be like a paradox. Well, I think as an INTP, yes, it is a paradox, because when you lead with TI, you want to, categorize and sort like, analytically what actually makes sense. So you want to break things down to like their highest degree. But if you keep breaking things down, you realize that there is nothing, because kind of like what I said, yes, everything is built on assumption, after assumption after assumption after assumption. And I came after ENTPs for this a lot in my video, because they always gave me the impression that the more, thought-provoking things that they come up with, the more they think they see the true reality of like the world. But I'm just like, no, you're just making shit up. Because at least like as an INTP, I think that like, okay, just because I can consider different points of views and like possibilities, okay, that is literally just me going through a thought experiment. And like that's what I'm saying. Life is not real. It's just a thought experiment. Like, okay, we can fiddle around with like all these different perspectives, like different psychological perspectives, different, like, let's say, philosophical takes and like whatnot, but it's all just random and made up, because life is artificial and the only constant is, our debts, like, like the end of our lives basically. And yeah, there's just so much like hollowness everywhere. So like I'm here thinking about shit, but then again it's like, okay, so what? I'm thinking about shit, but like, okay, so what? It's all just suggestions. Every single perspective, every single point of view is exactly that. It's a suggestion. And the only thing that can't be deconstructed, is essentially nothingness. And ergo, you get, oh my gosh, high TI dom, detached, blah, 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 or like whatever. But I mean, okay, I participate in life. I see different angles and shit, like blah, blah, blah. But like, again, they're suggestions. They're just, interpretations. The true reality of all of this is nothing, because at least regardless of what you believe in, the only thing anybody has in common is essentially that we're running out and that like we're just gonna die. So like as an INTP, I wouldn't see how like, constant existential crisis every day would not be like your mode of being. I mean, I'm not necessarily in an existential crisis in the sense where it's like, I don't know, it doesn't always bother me, I guess, or like whatever. But I mean, like, I'm thinking about things. I'm thinking about like philosophical stuff or like whatever. But it's like, I don't know. It's weird because I guess when you deal with NE, for me as an INTP, maybe perhaps yes, that is the existential crisis, because okay, you're trying to like figure and like sort shit out. But I have the nihilism within like my high TI, and I know some other INTP watching this might be complaining like, oh my gosh, I'm an INTP, I'm a nihilist, like whatever. Okay, I'm talking about me. I'm talking about me. So I think, okay, this is the lie about the world, because okay, because nothing's real, you can make shit up. Like I think my TI point of view and just seeing everything down to like its deepest core, its like skeleton, is that like, okay, everything is built on a house of cards. And my TI lays that for me like out loud and clear. But my NE keeps telling me, okay, you can build a house of cards. That's what people do. That's why they think they have meaning in their delusional lives, even though there's actually no meaning to anything whatsoever. And again, yeah, it's just made up. It's all just built on like a house of cards constantly stacking up. So, in conclusion, yeah, yeah, okay. I see why that meme's talking about, fucking existential crisis. Yeah.